Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Pop Go the Writers, episode 41. We've been doing this for a while. As you can see, we're going to be talking about Hawkeye and Bosk for some reason. Speaking of Trandosians, I've been reading the Star Wars: The High Republic, and I got to tell you, my favorite character in there is Skier, the Trandosian Jedi, because I just think that in itself is an amazing character idea. It's like taking a Klingon and making him a Buddhist, you know, and he's been my favorite character so far. So the fact that you bring up Bosk, and yep, love it.
Yeah. Does he remind you of anybody from, I don't know, Gorn, Star Trek at all? Gorn.
No. He reminds me of a character from Doctor Who because it's the same spacesuit.
Right, I was going to say.
Well, yes, obviously the spacesuit, but...
Yeah, I was very disappointed the day that I discovered that. that was true. Yeah, it's not only the exact spacesuit, it's the exact spacesuit.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, well.
Yeah, I actually thought
it was a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, which is, by the way, in measures of space-time. So it's only appropriate.
That's true.
That
That's very true.
Yeah.
We're just going to hit the ground running with all that, aren't we, Paul? Okay.
Well, I'm just furious that I couldn't watch Doctor Who Flux tonight.
Why not?
Because it's on right now.
Oh,
the sacrifices that we make.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm also a little disappointed. I was gonna do like a handlebar mustache, just and introduce myself as Paul Mustache. But
is this in honor of Jacques Duquesne, or
a little of Jacques Duquesne and a little bit of Jim Beard?
Yeah, I was going to say, you have a beard on the show. That's going to have to be good enough for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of like ZZ Top. The guy without the beard was named Beard.
His name Beard, yeah.
Yeah.
No relation that I'm aware of.
I was so excited to see Jacques Duquesne, by the way, but we'll get to that.
All right.
Jack. No, it's Jack.
Yeah.
Yes.
Jack. Yeah. I have a feeling going into this, and somehow, as we've been doing this show, I'm becoming more of the negative person, and Paul's the more positive person on these series, which when we had Rosalinda and Dan, I was the positive one. So it's kind of fascinating that the flip that's been going on. And I just want to start off by saying I actually like Hawkeye. I also like Cowboy Bebop, which was the other one that you and no, I had not watched any of the anime on Cowboy Bebop. I did watch the first episode tonight before the show. And having watched the Cowboy Bebop series, and pretty much the first episode of the live action is the first episode of the anime.
Yep.
I don't know how watching the anime made people go, we should make this a live action. I like the live action a lot better.
Really? Interesting.
Yes.
Well, this is where we can explain to him why he's wrong, Jim.
Oh, I don't know no Cowboy Bebop. Sorry.
Then just be on my side, because I'm the positive one.
I generally, as a rule, I don't like anime, but that's okay.
Yeah.
I like some of Star Wars Visions, but not all of it.
Yeah, that was hit or miss for me too.
Yeah.
There was 3 great ones, 3 mediocre ones, and 3 I was like, ooh, God. But I used to watch a lot of anime. Used to go to Suncoast and buy a bunch of the VHS tapes. Shows you how long ago it was.
Suncoast. Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow, we're going deep.
Yeah.
For those of you who are much younger than us and are watching, VHS was like the thing that Faye got at the in like episode 9.
Uh-huh.
Or 7,
Yeah.
I think.
Well, let's table the Cowboy Bebop because we have our guest, Jim,
Yes.
who is it is our tradition when we're starting a new Marvel series to have Jim on to discuss it with us. We started it with WandaVision, and we've been continuing it through Falcon and Winter Soldier, Loki, What If, and Jim is back tonight for us to talk about Hawkeye. And
Hated it.
yeah.
No.
It's like, we're sorry, there's some problem with Jim's connection.
Yeah. No,
Jim is Bosk is suddenly the guest tonight.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with somebody hating the series. I have seen a lot of different takes, and so far the consistent thing I've noticed is that people who have read the Matt Fraction, David Aja or Aja.
I think Aja.
Yeah, I've heard it pronounced both ways, and I don't know him personally. I do know Matt, but I don't know him. That those who have read the series have gone into it really liking it, and those who haven't read the series have had more issues with it. And
I haven't read the series, and I liked it.
And I'm going to start off, and I'm going to throw this out there, and we can discuss it. My first problem is that, and I think this is something you brought up, Jim, in one of your Facebook posts.
Yeah,
you have to like Kate Bishop to like this series. Kate is, and my problem with this, and with the characterization, is she's close to being what she is in the comics. But what she is in the comics works well off of what Hawkeye is in the comics. But Hawkeye in the comics is a divorcee. He's kind of incompetent. He's more of a seat of his pants type of guy. Makes mistakes. He's kind of an idiot. And all the women in the series kind of offset that. There's all these brilliant women in the series kind of offset the fact that Hawkeye is kind of an idiot. And I've read the run. I wasn't that thrilled with it. I thought it was a decent run in the comics. Yeah. It was entertaining, but I didn't love the characterization of Hawkeye because it didn't feel like the Hawkeye that I grew up with. You got to remember, Hawkeye started in 1964. He was the only Hawkeye for 40 years,
right,
before Kate Bishop was ever introduced. Now in the MCU, we get him for 10 years, and we're getting Kate. And it feels like, this is a much more competent, mature Hawkeye who knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
Where Kate is really intelligent, but she's butting up against him. She's butting up against her mom, and I don't really see the reason she's butting up against her mom. It's almost like she's rebelling just to rebel. I mean, they give us that opening of her story when she was a kid, and I got to tell you, that is one of my two favorite scenes in the two episodes so far. That opening where we see what she goes through as a child, which would make you think she would come out of it overprotective and very serious. Because that's almost like a Batman type origin, to lose a father, stuff like that. Instead, the next thing we see, she's on top of a roof shooting a bell because of a bet. And that didn't really jive with the characterization we see in the beginning. And
my take on it, not being familiar with the Matt Frack, I know Kate Bishop as being in the Young Avengers. That's how I met her. I didn't continue with Kate into the Hawkeye series. Full disclosure, Hawkeye is not one of my most favorite Marvel characters. He's okay, and I like him, but Jeremy Renner is definitely not the comic book Hawkeye and never has been. In fact, it's a fairly different character. It to me, it's one of the bigger divergence sympathies that Marvel Studios has done, with a character. He's, especially the day we learn that he has a family, way out in the countryside or whatever, and I realized, okay, this is not, that Clint Barton. This is a different one.
Yeah, not just a wife, but kids and
that whole thing, and you know what, in a way that was a fairly genius move for Marvel Studios, take one of the Avengers and make him a family man, and it was a great little aside in Age of Ultron. But my take on Kate in this production is that she was Daddy's girl. I had a feeling that from the beginning she sided with her father. There was the argument going on between the mother and father in the very, very beginning, and that in a way she's still rebelling against her mother. She might even hold some kind of not grudge, like hold her mother accountable for her father's death, which is kind of silly, but then we're, as human beings, we are very silly. That may be an unspoken thing, but I totally saw it as her not totally being a mama's girl, and I didn't really have a problem. She's a rebellious kid, I didn't think much about it.
Yeah, the way that I took it, see, Dan, I didn't take it as now she buckled down and got serious, because her dad was the dreamer. He was the one that somehow everything is going to be okay, and her mom was the lock it down, like be practical,
authoritarian.
Yeah, and she and that can, I think the reason why Kate is she pushed herself to excel, but she wasn't driven. Well, for one thing, she wasn't driven by unlike Batman. Batman's driven because he watched the crime happen in front of him. She was, although she lost her father, she was inspired by Hawkeye.
Yes.
She saw Hawkeye and said, a person can do this. A regular person can do this. So she went out and she became an incredible archer, martial artist, sword fighter. So to me, she's not as serious because what she's got going is a like, yeah, I'm getting this done. I'm mastering these things that I've always wanted to master. And I think she's a little more of a free spirit, perhaps in reaction to her mother's being so buttoned down, and trying to, because her mom even says later on in the, oh, well, as soon as you graduate, then you can become a part of Bishop security like we've always planned. And she's like, you've always planned. Because, I get the feeling that her mom is like proud of her accomplishments, but sees them as a side thing, sees them as a like, oh, that's really nice. Your first oboe.
She's emulating Hawkeye because he's like the substitute father.
Yeah, and almost to the second.
Yeah.
She idolized her dad, and then she gets
very much so. And now everything gets even worse with Jack coming into the picture and trying to, become yet another father, and a father that she doesn't want. But I will agree with you that entire 2012 sequence is really, really good, and I really, really enjoyed that. And we've never really gotten that before. I love how the Battle of New York has become this pivot point or focal point for many different things in the Marvel universe. It was a huge moment for Earth. That we're not alone. And this big huge battle goes on. I love it because we finally get to see it from a different point of view than superheroes.
Yeah.
It reminds me a little of
even though the bishops are not the common man, we still got to see it from more or less street level. It's actually terrifying.
Well,
Sorry, go ahead, Paul.
Oh, I was going to say we saw a little bit of that though in the movie with the waitress and the various people
to me, not enough. You know, I mean,
well, not as we didn't get to see the emotional impact.
It's actually terrifying when she goes into her room and everything is normal, and then one shadow goes past the window and suddenly everything changes, and then an explosion, and then it becomes terrifying. That's a really great moment, and the way that they did it, you know, I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
What it reminded me of in a little ways, and I know, Jim, you just got the story of Marvel Studios.
Yeah.
Book.
Yes, I did.
Okay, I've read the first of the 2 books so far.
Okay.
One of the things they talk about is when they were creating the Marvel Universe, they decided they needed a Battle of Yavin when they were doing the timeline. They needed that moment that is kind of everything is either before it or after that.
Yeah.
And as much as Marvel picked the I Am Iron Man line from Iron Man 1, I think the real Battle of Yavin for the MCU is the Battle of New York.
Mm-hmm.
And that scene reminded me a little bit, in kind of just an odd way, of in the first episode of the 2nd season of Mandalorian, where we see the reaction to the fall of the Empire in that little Mos Pelego town right after the Empire falls, and they're watching the explosions and screams and stuff. It's like we're seeing it from a completely different angle, and I really like that. And I think that's part of what I think that's part of what made that scene really work for me.
Right.
Yeah. And also the fact that they used, because we saw that penthouse, we saw that hole. We didn't see Kate inside because they hadn't decided to do that yet.
Yeah.
But in the movie, we saw that.
Yeah.
And the fact that they went back and went, ooh, this is it. She lives there.
Yeah. They're gonna go back they're gonna go back and alter that now. They're gonna George Lucas that scene.
They're gonna put in the little girl in the background.
Well, she was back far enough so we couldn't see her. But I see I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. But the one thing that bothers me for these 2 episodes is they can't quite decide how competent Kate is.
Yeah.
At one point, they're like, "Oh my God, she's really amazing, and she's fighting these guys," and then she's like, "Oh, I never thought that people might follow me."
Yeah. You know what? I think there's a difference between intelligence or common sense and just those physical abilities that she's learned. But I do sort of agree with you. You know, I literally just rewatched the first episode before I sat down for this. And again, it struck me. It struck me the first time I watched it, and it struck me again, is that she goes up against the tracksuit mafia, and although they're getting punches in on her, she's actually not doing too badly with them. And then Hawkeye walks in and literally frog marches her along to the point where he throws her up against the wall. And it's like Hawkeye is so masterful and so fantastic. She seems to be okay against these big, huge Russian guys or whatever. And then Hawkeye just kind of, manhandles her around, and she can't do anything at all about it. And
well, it's that shield training.
Yeah, I guess that's what that's supposed. It doesn't really look like he's got that great of a hold on her, and yet he's marching her along, and she could be so dazed at that point, but it struck me.
Well, and she saw him take out everybody.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So she's not like, I don't think she's going at him 100% because she's like, why is this guy grabbing me after he just took out all those other people? Dan, I don't know that she's.
Was it you that just said you have to like, no, or was it Paul?
No,
you have
that's
to like
Dan.
Kate to like this show.
Yes.
Yeah.
I kind of agree with that. At some point, and I don't remember if it was in the first or second episode, I said, "Oh, this show is about Kate, and Clint just happens to be in it." I
Yeah.
was a little surprised that it wasn't a show about Clint. That it really, that I think right from the very moment they're telling us this is Kate's series, not necessarily Clint's series. And
Yeah.
that was kind of interesting too. I don't dislike her. She mumbles like to the point where I need the closed captioning on because I can't understand half of what she's saying. But I don't dislike her at all, and I'm actually kind of growing, to like her. What I need to like more is Renner. I've never, he's not my favorite actor in Marvel Studios. And the only time I've ever really sat up and taken notice of him is in Endgame. I thought he was really great in Endgame, and I think it was mostly because they gave Hawkeye a lot of really great stuff to do and say. But
Yeah.
I'm hoping that I walk away from this liking Jeremy Renner and Jeremy Renner's Hawkeye more than I have for 10 years.
Yeah.
Now, see, I am a fan of the Jeremy Renner Hawkeye.
Mm-hmm.
So, really?
I've liked the character.
Mm-hmm.
But
such as it is.
The thing with Kate is, well, I've always felt that his Hawkeye has been kind of pushed aside constantly. They did that in the first Avengers movie. Mm-hmm. He's not even in Infinity War. So they've really pushed. But I loved his dealing with Scarlet Witch in Avengers Age of Ultron, talking her into getting out there. Mm-hmm. I love the fact that he's not a superhero. He's a SHIELD agent. That's the thing, who gets called into this. But the thing that with Kate is I haven't seen any reason to like her yet. It's like you said that she's really good at things. Yeah, just ask her. She'll tell you. Mm-hmm. Oh, people call me the greatest, world's greatest archer. Who are you telling that? You're talking to Hawkeye, the archer on the Avengers, and you're saying that people call you the world. Are you trying to impress? I mean, she goes from that trying to impress him to, oh, will you sign my bow? Her character has just kind of been all over the place. And like I said, she's rebelling against everybody. She's upset that Jack is there, and they don't give us a reason she doesn't like Jack. They never really, I mean, yeah.
Did you watch Jack?
Stop.
Yeah.
They later on show that he's doing all this over-the-top stepdad stuff. But she didn't like him the moment she walked in the door, and he probably wasn't doing the over-the-top stepdad stuff before because they weren't engaged.
Yeah.
So there's no history to that.
I guess she just senses that he's slimy, and she's starting to get confirmation, that.
But again, why aren't they giving us any of that?
Yeah. Or it's literally just that he's not her dad, and her dad's dead.
But her dad's been dead for 13 years.
I saw that guy, and kudos to the actor. I saw him, and I went, mega creep.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
That's all I had to do. He was carrying it off. He was smug. He was smarmy. And that was before he opened his mouth. Like, why does Kate hate him? Because we all would.
Yeah. It's because he has a mustache.
Yeah, that's...
Had they given us even a line of why she doesn't like him. She used to go to Armand's
Well, did you not notice what a dick Armand was?
The whole family is.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're low-life scumbags with a lot of money.
Okay, I have an even better question.
Okay.
Why her mother says, I'm going to replace this clock tower for you. You can make it up to me by putting the red dress on and coming to the party. And then she shows up in a black tuxedo.
Because she's a tomboy. She's a tomboy. That's you know what? That's supposed to be an endearing thing. See, I get what you're saying, because generally I don't find characters like that endearing at all. I'm just not of that, and I think if you're a younger person, you will think that she's really cool and all of that. Again, I usually just go with my gut, and so far, other than the mumbling her lines thing, I don't have a sense, that I don't dislike her at all, and I think as we go along, I'm going to grow to like her more. But it's very interesting because you're pointing out some really good stuff there too.
Yeah, because the writers aren't giving us a reason for any of this stuff. She is just acting out, and they're not giving us a reason. They're not giving us a reason to care about her. She's, rebellious. She's overly talkative. I mean, all these character quirks and stuff, which, again, I watched the show a second time, and it bothered me a little less.
Okay.
But it still bothered me. And things like, why did she decide to wear... Because from a writer point of view, without explaining why she switched to the black suit, it's a matter of convenience so that she looked like the waitstaff so she could do what she needed later in the script.
That's because you're looking for that to be. You're looking for it to be bad. That's convenient. No, the reason she put on the suit...
No, stop. Wait 1 second, Paul. Is it you filling in the reason she put on the suit, or is there something in the series that told us why she put the suit on?
Now, see, Dan, good writing does not require somebody to tell you everything. You do not need to be spoon-fed. You can watch something and watch the interactions. It tells us about her character. She conceded to her mother by going to this thing, but she was not going to concede 100%.
On her terms.
Yes, right. Exactly.
I'm going to have to go with Paul on this one. It's not stated, but it's there, and it's supposed to be a character trait. I rolled with it. I said, she's a tomboy. Of course she's not going to put a dress on. That's not who she is. And that moment informed me more of her character.
But again, you're saying that it informed you of the character. Okay. But when you leave it up to the audience and you leave it vague where the audience has to fill in, you're assuming that the character is someone that they're going to like and it's going to be a favorable fill-in. And I'm saying that they haven't really given us enough to make the character likable, so that I think if you are a fan of Kate Bishop going into the series, you're going to fill it in positively. And if you're not, if you're coming in fresh, then you may not.
Yeah, which is me.
I couldn't care about Kate Bishop one way or the other. I didn't particularly think that she was particularly outstanding in Young Avengers, and I read the Fraction Aja thing, and I'm like the single person on the face of the earth that went, or well, maybe there's a couple more, but I was like, yeah, it's good. I didn't think it was groundbreaking like everybody says, and that's nothing against them. It may just not be to my taste.
No, and I agree with you. I read it. It was entertaining, but it wasn't all that great. But you listen to people online talk about it, and it's the amazing run by Fraction and David Aja.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, it wasn't that amazing to me, and it didn't feel like Hawkeye. It didn't feel like the character.
Yeah. And so what I'm saying is I didn't care about Kate Bishop coming in. So, I mean, this to me, I'm not trying to fill in to make her likable for myself. It's interesting to me, though, that you, Dan, as writerly as you are, seem to be pushing for tell, don't show.
Well, because I think that they haven't established the character enough. So what they have given us, what I'm saying is they haven't given us enough for me to like the character. They've given me a bunch of quirks and stuff which are annoying.
Well, maybe you're not supposed to. That's my guess is that there's an arc here, and that it's one of these not so likable character becomes a likable character by the end of the series. And I hate this. I'm the guy who hates it when people tell me, Oh, the first couple episodes, it's a slow burn. The first couple episodes, you got to get into it a little bit more. People did this to me with Stranger
Things.
Stranger
Stranger
Things.
Things.
I couldn't even
Yeah.
think of the name of the show. I mean, I dropped it after 3 or 4 episodes because, and I hated it because everybody was saying this thing about, oh, you got to stick with it. It gets better. And it's like, no, it should grab me right off the bat. That's what a TV show should do. I'm assuming that this show is Kate is not that likable of a character. She's a little bit empty inside. And by the end of this, because of her time with Clint, she is going to become a likable character that everybody is going to accept that she is the new Hawkeye.
Because it's very much a passing the torch.
Yeah, I can see that. But so like I said, she hasn't clicked for me.
Okay, that's totally.
And there's a lot of decisions she makes that I sit there and scratch my head on. I'm still not sure why, in the middle of the wine cellar fight, she decided to put on the whole Ronin costume
to hide her identity.
She could have put on the mask.
I think then I'm going to say that it's to hide the fact that she's a female and her identity. And she makes a big mistake because right in front of Jax, she says hello, and it's definitely, to me, I almost thought that he recognized her, and he may have.
She didn't change her voice at all, or
But no, it's funny how I rolled with this stuff because I'm usually pretty hard on these sorts of things. But yeah, I mean, I didn't think twice about it. She wanted to hide her identity, and she most likely wanted to hide the fact that she was female. And that would give her some sort of, advantage.
But
plus, she probably wanted the entire outfit and didn't want to leave it, leave it behind.
Well, first thing, I don't know why she'd want the whole outfit because her hero is Hawkeye and the Avengers. Ronin is not an Avenger, or she doesn't know it's Hawkeye.
Well, it's a cool outfit. She may have just liked it for its own sake.
But if she didn't want her identity discovered, why is she going down there in the first place? Why is she saying the stuff to the, oh, Gary sent me down here? Why is she down there in the first place if she doesn't want her identity?
It shores up the bell tower thing. She doesn't think.
Yeah.
She's not a character who really thinks through the consequences of things. And we find this out later when it comes out that she didn't really hide the fact that her name is on the door of her apartment, building anything like that. No, I think that this is all the way it's supposed to be. She is intelligent as she is. She doesn't have common sense. She
trained for the combat aspect of crime fighting without really and the lock picking and stuff like that.
This is what she's going to get from Clint. She needs to get more of this stuff. She's headstrong. She's not thinking things through. Her mother said the two things about you think you're invincible. And
because you're rich. Yeah, because you're young and you're rich. I thought that was
another thing to me that shores this all up. And I'll go back to what I said. I think she's not supposed to be that likable of a character at this moment, and that's hopefully going to grow and change.
I'll agree with you. I started feeling that on the second viewing. And I think it's partly because in a lot of ways their characters are flipped from the Fraction run.
Aha! Yeah, I was thinking that too. Yes.
Yeah.
Because she's the one that's making all the mistakes and stuff like that. But it's like the scene where he tells her to stay put. Now, this is her idol. This is the guy that, that she's based her life off of. He's an experienced Avenger. He's proven himself, even in the short time that he's been around her. He tells her to stay put, and she's like, no, I've got to go to work. Why did she have to go to work? She could have called in sick. She could have called in, hey, my house burned down. I have no clothes. I'm staying at my aunt's. I'm going to take the day.
Well, oh, no. She can't say she's at her aunt's because that gets that information out there. But I think it's another thing that she reflexively pushes back because we see it repeatedly. there's all this stuff. She even said, as much as I want to do what you're telling me to do, I can't.
Yeah. And again, so
but that also was a lack of self-awareness.
Yeah. But that
weirdly.
So that's why I haven't grown to like this character. There hasn't been anything. I mean, what happened to her when she was a kid would lead me to want to like her. But everything we've seen since, she's not a likable character.
Yeah.
She's kind of annoying. She pushes back against everything, and they haven't. And you can fill in. You can mentally fill in, but they haven't really given us a reason to like her as the 23-year-old adult.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'm not filling in anything as far as liking her, not liking her. Mm-hmm. I'm saying they're showing us her character.
Yeah.
But I don't worry so much about whether I like her or not. That's not that is important to you to bring on. But I don't care about, again, I don't have to like her to watch her journey. I do like her because her response as a kid was, I'll do whatever I can for you. Okay, then I need a bow and arrow.
See, I liked her as a kid a lot. I loved that scene. But everything she's doing, whenever Hawkeye is not there, it feels almost like a sitcom. Because she's getting herself into these awkward situations, and she's where if you take a moment and think you can you could deal with the situation, she's not, and it feels like almost a sitcom character with the way she's dealing with Jack. So I'm not really enjoying the scenes that are just her with her mom and with Jack and stuff like that. Where it's better when her and Jeremy are on the screen together, and I'm really enjoying him by himself.
Yeah,
the LARPing scene, which is not one of my favorites, at least it's not awkward. I mean, it's weird, and I've got some questions about why are they LARPing on a Monday?
Yeah,
wouldn't that be a weekend event?
Maybe it was a 3-day weekend.
But she had to go to work.
My issue with that whole scene was that it overstayed its welcome. I thought it was it was long for the payoff to be he gets the suit back. It was like, wow, this is a really long
I think they're introducing
just to get the suit back.
I think it's to introduce the character Grills. Grills is in the comics as he's one of the people that lives in Hawkeye's building. Okay. So if Grills just an Easter egg, then that is a lot of wasted screen time.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of introducing a character, am I to assume that Kate's friend Greer is the cat, aka Tigra?
It's possible because Greer is not a normal name.
No. As soon as I heard that her name was Greer, I thought, wow, very cool. They're introducing Tigra, already, or the cat, aka Tigra. Okay. So, all right, I didn't see not reading the series. I didn't realize that about that character because I thought this is a pretty big sequence for just to get that suit back. When okay, he gets the suit back. So what?
Yeah, it was an unnecessary scene unless it sets up that character. Unless Grills comes back as an important character at some point.
I'm not entirely sure they won't make use of all the LARPer or a chunk of the LARPer because as the lady said, hey, we're mostly cops and firefighters.
Yeah.
I know who you are, but
I'm envisioning a scene of all those characters fighting the tracksuit mafia. Like Kate and Clint organized them to fight the.
Yeah, it did kind of the thing that bugged me about that was I know who you are, but we got to do this as opposed to going like, hey, Grills, come over here. There's a superhero who wants to talk to you.
Yeah, the guy that saved the planet. He's here to talk to you. Come here.
Yeah, that to me, that was the point where I was like, wait a second.
Yeah.
Look, I'm an RPGer, not so much a LARPer, but you know, especially a bunch of LARPers who are first responders going like, yeah, you can't go. I mean, it was for comedic effect and okay. But yeah, it seems to me like she would have gone like, hey, come here. Like, Dan, this guy needs to talk to you.
Dan, you liked all the previous series so far, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. This may literally just be that moment where finally one comes along that you're just not that invested in. Because this just happened to me. I go 11 years of liking Marvel movies, except for Captain Marvel. And then suddenly I get 2 in a row that I'm not invested in. I didn't care much for Shang-Chi, and I didn't care much for Eternals. So in some ways, Hawkeye was kind of like reinforcing my faith in Marvel Studios after coming off of 2 movies that I just couldn't really get that much depth of feeling for. I felt that same way about the character of Shang-Chi. I didn't understand why I was supposed to care about his character really at all, and it was the same with the Eternals for the most part. Didn't dislike them, but kind of walked away a little disappointed. I'm hoping by the end of Hawkeye, you feel better about it, but it might just be one of this. You finally hit the moment where, okay, here's a series that I'm not that into.
Well, the thing is, I do like the series. I am enjoying the series.
Okay.
I don't like Kate so far.
Gotcha.
And I think the writing is a little suspect. I think there's, like I said, if they the LARPer thing gets paid off, I've got no problem.
Yeah.
And they've had some really great moments in the series. I think part of my problem is that Clint has the character has always been given kind of put to the side.
Yep.
And this was, hey, we're doing a Hawkeye series. Now, if you're from the comics and there's 2 Hawkeyes, great. If you don't have a comic background and you're coming into this, you're thinking this is Clint Barton's series, and he's barely in the first episode.
Yep.
He's in the second one a little bit more, but this has been Kate's series.
Definitely.
And I think Jeremy Renner's character deserved the spotlight before being swapped. I think he should have had a little more time where it was his series and then passed it. And like I said, the first episode comes across like this is the Kate Bishop show.
Yeah.
Supposedly
they started filming and Renner said to Kevin Feige, "Hey, this is more dialogue than I've had in 10 years of the movies," which I think is pretty telling.
Yeah. Now, I am going to jump ahead to what my second favorite scene is, and it's going to come maybe as a little surprise. It's shortly after the LARPer scene. And by the way, just a side note, I don't think you can put stickers on a fire truck. I don't think that's a public. I don't think they allow you just to slap a sticker onto a fire truck.
Oh, yeah.
Just a thought on that. But, the scene where he goes and he puts the costume, the Ronin suit, into the locker and he's talking to his wife on the phone. Absolutely love that scene. That is a character dynamic we don't have anywhere else in the MCU. His wife knows he was Ronin. What he did as Ronin, he's opened up. There's no line between them. There's no secret. And then when it comes to, so what's the play? And he's like, I'm going to do catch and release. I don't know about you, but in most shows like that, if the hero tells their spouse, "Oh, I'm going to go allow myself to be caught so I can get information," she'd be like, "Hell no."
Yeah.
She trusts him.
Totally agree with you on this one.
And brings in Nat's favorite.
Yes. And so she knows all that. That to me is one of the things I love about the MCU is the connectivity and all that. And then you have this scene and you're like, this is such a great relationship.
Yeah.
So that's my other favorite scene.
it harkens back to some of the great husband and wives of like comic books, Barry and Iris Allen, where you don't have to get the spouse going, oh no, don't do that, or you come back here right now, or anything like that. Yeah, I really love that. Tracksuit Mafia, oh, not those assholes again.
Yeah.
that was really.
Yeah, she knows.
I'd love to hear the conversations when she comes back from the blip and he has to explain the whole Ronin. Hey, by the way, honey, I went out with a mask on and killed a bunch of criminals.
Well, did you keep the mask on? Would be my first question.
Yeah, that's it.
All right,
Because that was the first thing.
As long as you kept the mask on, we're good.
So really, we're assuming that him asking Kate, "Did you take the mask off?" was also what
she asked him. Yeah, Laura asked him. So
but yes, that I like that dynamic. I still miss the fact that Hawkeye isn't more the brash quipping guy, which I think you could still have that same interaction. He's just always so freaking glum, and I know he's had reason to be, but and I'm trying to remember. I think a friend of mine said that they think that Hawkeye ended up not being quite the quipster that he is in the comics because you already had Iron Man doing all the zingers.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this Hawkeye has PTSD, I guess. And then he's got the hearing loss thing.
Right.
What's interesting about that is he does have the hearing loss in the comics. But for somebody who doesn't know that, they may have thought, wow, what a really interesting development they're doing, with Hawkeye here, where everybody else is like, oh no, he's had that for quite a while in the comics.
Well, what's really interesting is that they made him deaf twice in the comics. They did it in the original first Hawkeye miniseries years and years ago. Where he bit on the sonic arrow to prevent the kill thing with when he meets Mockingbird. And then I guess they solved that, or they fixed him, and then they did it again in the Matt Fraction run. They had the clown character basically jab him in the ears with his own arrows. I love the way they did it in the series. Kate says, "What happened?" And instead of him telling her or telling us, we get that quick montage of scenes, too many explosions, around it.
And his reply, hard to say.
Yeah, hard to say. Yeah. And when you can't hear, it's hard to quip. It's hard to get those one-liners out when you're not really hearing everybody very well.
Right.
I did love the fact that he turned. Did you turn off your hearing aid?
Oh wait!
Because
I said this earlier today on a podcast I do here in town. If that wasn't like a huge indictment of Broadway musicals, I don't know what was. Like, that's literally like it was so true. But like, wow, what a slam against Broadway musicals.
Well, and I thought I took it as a tiny poke at Hamilton, but as you say, more of a general slam against musicals.
I give him credit for sitting through halfway through it. I just saw a few seconds of it, and I wanted to walk out.
It was a bit cringy, wasn't it?
And the costuming, reminded me of there was a cartoon that I think is still on Netflix from years back called Avengers Next.
Yeah.
Which was a bunch of their kids running around. And they had the just jacket kind of thing going on.
Yeah. I almost thought that was supposed to be off Broadway, and they didn't have the budget to do anything more.
No, it's supposed to be across the street from Hamilton. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that good.
I think it's interesting that they put Ant-Man in it. Because A, it's a good joke, but B, Ant-Man was in the original Avengers, and he would have
Right.
been part of the Avengers
Mhm.
had the Edgar Rice thing not been postponed so many times.
Mhm.
You know who wasn't there? That guy. Because
That
the first, I'd only noticed it on the second time through. Because the first time I was like, who is that supposed to be? I didn't, because I missed the reference to Ant-Man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, who is that supposed to be?
It's just
Because I
that
couldn't.
every
the
lyric,
outfit
every
didn't.
line had to be like an introduction to each of the characters was just so horrible, you know. And
Oh, yeah.
Natasha, blah blah blah. Like, oh god.
But they got the
Hulk
shawarma
gonna
line in there.
smash.
I love that they went for the shawarma.
Yeah.
It's like that's in the MCU. That's a famous thing. Oh, the Avengers went for shawarma.
Well,
If you own the
my
shawarma shop.
retentive self said, "How did they know that Steve Rogers' catchphrase is I could do this all day?" You know, like
Oh, you got to
that become
figure there's been
public knowledge?
biographies and stuff.
Yeah, and then the
Yeah.
whole museum
know.
full of him.
I assume that the Howling Commandos, like maybe one of them wrote I can see Brian Falsworth writing
Yeah.
or was it James Montgomery Falsworth?
James Montgomery Falsworth.
Yeah, it always throws me off because James in the comics was from World War One.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
but I could see him definitely writing and then my adventures with the Howling Commando.
I feel like Steve has been betrayed, and one of his, private catchphrases has been revealed to the whole world now.
Oh man. Yeah, it is a pretty cringy thing. But then I love the fact that he goes to the restroom afterwards. That whole restroom scene. First,
Can I have a selfie?
yeah. But I love the graffiti of Thanos' and
Yeah.
the look on his face was
Yeah,
like,
you got to watch the look on his face. Like, yep,
maybe.
Yeah.
like maybe, yep.
But I love the initial look when the guy goes to the urinal right next to him,
Yeah, like
and his first thing is just the dude, you don't do that look.
Yep, breaking the bro code right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was.
Oh.
But I go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I think, by the way, that this shows the quality of the show, because we have generally not had this much headbutting on these things. We're both passionate about it.
Yeah.
And Jim is over here being the voice of reason and rationality.
yeah,
He's like our Jeremy Renner.
which is really interesting.
Yeah. I think in a lot of ways we would be headbutting more had I not watched it a second time.
Mm-hmm.
There really was. It did grow on me a little better in the second time. I'm still not loving the Kate character in her scenes without, but the scenes with Jeremy, though I am disappointed. There's a trailer that they put out where he's waiting for the catch and release and the guys show up and he's got that line of, "You should have brought more guys." Oh, you did. When more guys show up.
Oh.
And they cut that out of the actual episode, and I thought that was a great line.
I bet you that line will get used later, that they clipped it from somewhere else, put it over. My favorite line in that scene, though, was, "Guys, I can see through the bag."
Yes.
And just the fact that he's just like, it was, in a lot of ways, it was very Nat.
Yeah.
Like that point where like where we're introduced to her in Avengers, where she's just like, "Hang on, I'm not talking to you." Can you hold her captors?
So.
Can you hold, please?
I'm hoping we get more references to her. There's really only been sort of like 2 references, from Clint's. The wife says it, and then his daughter says, about your best friend.
We'll be getting more references.
Her sister's supposed to show up. Yelena is supposed to show up in this.
That's what one of my questions is she supposed to? I mean,
she's listed third on the if you go to the IMDb,
Wow.
it's Jeremy Renner, Haley Stanfield, and Florence Pugh.
Wow.
And I was like,
Okay.
oh, I'd forgotten she's going to show up.
And then,
IMDb is not official, by the way.
yeah.
Well,
was
I know.
gonna say, that's going to get really crowded. And is it what? We have 8 episodes? Is that right?
6.
Oh,
6.
see, that, wow.
Yeah, we're already a third through.
Yeah, and if they're gonna, I mean, I'm all for it if to give them, the benefit of the doubt and that they can do it, but that's gonna get crowded because we have Echo.
Yeah.
Here's
Although
what I want. I want the costumes. I want the costumes that are shown in the the poster or whatever. I got to get to that point, and I want some explanation as to why purple. Like somebody has to ask, one of them or the other, like, why purple? And there's like something in Clint's background that to go with purple.
Well, we may learn that because when they talk more about Jack Dane.
Be really interesting to see if he really becomes anything close to the swordsman.
I think he's the one running. I think he's associated with. But I could be wrong.
Literally like
Echo's running the
something resembling an outfit.
Yeah.
Or even saying the name or something along those lines. I'd like. We're not going to get that full blown swordsman probably, but just something a little, closer to the comic book.
I have a twist thought watching this, and it kind of lines up.
Okay.
If it turns out they're trying to set Jack up as the bad guy so hard that he comes across like a red herring.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And it does seem like the mom is more likely to be the bad guy.
I think there's a twist coming. I'm going to go with what you're saying. I think there's a twist coming.
What if Jack is actually a SHIELD agent that used to work with Hawkeye? That's how they've got a connection, like Swordsman and Hawkeye do in the comics.
Yeah.
And he's trying to get close to Eleanor because of this connection she has to the underworld, that he's trying to do the long con. And the reason he wanted the Ronin sword is because he knew it was Clint, and he was trying to get it back to get it off the street.
That could be the Marvel Studios version of the original Swordsman introduction, was that he wanted to join the Avengers as a hero and then turned out to be a bad guy. They may, put that spin it on its ear to do something like that. Yep, could be.
Yeah, because he's so over the top that it would be. I mean, I could see them doing that twist where he and Hawkeye that knew each other, and maybe he was someone else considered for the Avengers, but they went with Hawkeye instead. Mm-hmm. Maybe they came up together because they're just a couple of years apart in age. Actually, Renner's about 4 years older than Tony Dalton.
What's the other character in the comics that is considered to be Hawkeye's main mentor in the circus? It's
the Swordsman.
Well, no. Then they introduced.
His
Trick
brother.
Shot. Is it Trick Shot?
Yeah, Trick Shot.
Okay. Yeah, it's his brother. Yeah.
Right. Okay. It makes. Yeah. It's like I'm wondering if we're going to get something with that.
No, there's an archer in there that's not related to Hawkeye. That supposedly taught him, but Barney was
that's the one that I'm referring to. Is not his relation? That's the one I'm referring to.
Yeah.
So I think he's Trick Shot.
I think so too. Yeah. Right.
Well, see, I thought that was Barney.
No,
I don't
unless
so.
At some point he took that name, but no, Barney Barton is a different character.
Yep.
Let's see them try to get away with using that name.
Barney
in the modern Marvel Studios universe.
Oh well, hey,
Barney Barton.
This guy's name is Buck Chisholm.
Yeah, right. That's it. That's who I'm referring to.
Yeah, Trick Shot is Buck Chisholm. So talk about like questionable names.
I think Trick Shot is
Down with the
still
dance
a part
floor.
of
What
continuity, right?
Hmm?
Trick Shot is still a part of continuity. in
Oh, yeah.
Marvel? Okay.
Pretty sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
But no, that's just the idea that hit me that Jack could actually be a Shield agent, and
Yeah, I love it. I
because they
can
haven't
totally
seen
see it
each
too.
other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You may have just ruined the show for me. Or spoiled the show for you.
Then you're welcome, because I think that would be a great plot twist.
There's no reason to watch it anymore now. You just spoiled the
Just
whole thing.
stick with it. Just stick with it.
Paul, you're only saying that because you need to have somebody to be on your side of this little argument.
Yeah, I did the same.
Yeah.
I did similar the other night to Lisa while watching Red Notice. I went, "Oh, I have an idea." She says, "Tell me." I went, "No, you're going to get mad at me if it's right, saying I ruined the show." She goes, "No, it's fine." So I told her, and it turned out to be exactly what they did. And afterwards, she's like, "You ruined it." Like,
And that's the last time she ever asks you.
no,
for
she'll
anything like that again.
she'll ask again.
Okay.
But I see. But the longer we go, the more I think that you see a lot of potential in the show, Dan.
I do.
agree.
Yeah.
I started off by saying I like the show. You guys think because I don't like one character that I don't like the series.
Why do you hate America, Dan?
And women. Yeah, I think he hates women.
Yes.
too. Yeah.
I've been expecting that, the misogynistic argument, because if you don't like Captain Marvel, you're a misogynist. If you don't like Kate Bishop, you're a misogynist. It's like, no, I can not like a character because of who they are and nothing to do with their gender or race or any of that stuff.
In kind of the general defense, there were so many loud misogynistic comments on Captain Marvel. It was kind of understandable, if not appropriate, that people would go. I mean, there were just so many people that just came out. So yeah, people are entitled to not like Captain Marvel, but I think people, fans of the movie, jumped to a conclusion because they were getting bombarded.
Right. No, I didn't have any problem with that movie until I saw that Brie Larson couldn't act.
Yeah, see, now this is where I'm doing what you guys were doing. I always took it as the reason she's kind of stiff in it is because this is a character who had her mind wiped. She's still learning who she is, but I've seen her act in other things.
That's what people tell me, and it's like I don't know what it was, but she just comes and just is very unlikable, and just so. And I know what you're saying about that thing, and I sort of agree, but to me it didn't feel like she was into the being in the movie, like it just wasn't holding her interest enough, and she just really wasn't delivering.
Interesting. That fascinates me because I was there for the whole thing. It worked for me. But I was
good with the Captain. So
yeah, as far as her being into it though, man, she as far as really like being invested and kind of loosening up, in Endgame. You got something for me, Peter Parker?
You know what's funny is if I had to say that I liked her at all, it would have been in Endgame. Yes, I agree. But they have to go through one whole movie with her.
See, but I liked her fine in the movie. Yeah. So, which I'm not saying you should.
It's going to be rough sitting through the Marvels. I'm hoping that I like Ms. Marvel enough because I love Photon or whatever the hell they're going to, we're calling what's her face, Monica. Yeah, I love her, and I'm hoping I like Ms. Marvel because have to sit through another movie with Brie Larson is gonna hurt.
Oh, see, and yeah, I've seen her in other things again, and I think she acts I think
You know
she's
what?
very, very
It's sort
good.
of like Hayden Christensen. Everybody says that the guy can act and has acted, but in Star Wars he just walks around like a piece of wood.
Yeah.
So
And
I
you
think
have to
it's like
I keep,
he's not the right person for that project. To me, I don't think she was the right person for that project.
that could be it, but it also, you have to remember that they're given direction. And
I
a lot of
totally
people
agree. Yeah.
and a lot of people talking about Hayden Christensen
Mhm.
said that he basically was acting the exact way George Lucas
Hmm.
told him to act.
yeah.
So you got that factor in as well.
I won't get into it now because I'm gonna say Ewan McGregor. It's like Ewan McGregor, brought his acting to
Well, yeah,
those
but
movies.
if
And
you're
I'm sure
directing,
George didn't probably tell him, "Hey, stop being so good and be a little more wooden."
Although the best example, I think, of a really great actor who is just stifled in a part
Mhm.
is Keanu Reeves in Bram Stoker's Dracula. A performance so wooden they could have driven him through the heart of the
I got
vampire.
you one better. Keanu Reeves in Much Ado About Nothing.
oh God, yes.
I love that movie. Just love it. Except for him, he's horrible in it. Just horrible.
And I consider Kenneth Branagh an amazing director.
Mhm.
And everything I've seen him do, I've loved.
Yep.
So
Yep. There you go.
yeah.
So anyway, but we're down to about 25 minutes, so maybe we should jump back at the Bebop.
Right. Oh no. Let's stick with Hawkeye for a little bit more.
All right.
So
I can't do the Bebop. Sorry.
we can pick up on Bebop next week.
Okay.
I just have to prod Dan every once in a while.
Okay, I understand.
Because you've noticed that when I don't like a character, I don't like America and I'm misogynistic. You don't like a character, he says, I understand why you feel that. Yeah. So
Well, I don't have to put up with him every week,
I think we need to talk about the dog.
or vice versa.
We haven't
The
even
dog?
mentioned the dog.
Yeah, the dog.
And so my take on that is you are both dog haters.
By the way, did anybody notice how the dog went from bedraggled to clean without
Yes,
ever
yeah.
seeing
Yeah.
it being cleaned up?
There was a stunt dog in there at one point that didn't look a damn thing like the
Oh,
full,
really?
I
didn't notice that. I guess the idea was supposed to. Yeah, I guess the thing was supposed to be that it had just dried off, and it looked better.
Was the thing with the eye because the one mafia guy kicked him?
Yeah.
Oh no!
I couldn't tell.
In the
comics, yes.
Okay.
yeah, but no, we haven't learned why he's one-eyed now.
Oh,
in the show.
'cause in the first episode, when he first shows up, you cannot see clearly enough if he has a bad eye. But then when he jumps on the guy who just found the watch, that guy kicks him right in that same side of his head. So I was assuming that was why that was closed.
No, he does have the eye.
Yeah, when Kate is talking to him, he's sitting there with his eyes.
Okay.
I do find it interesting that in the comics, it's Hawkeye, it's Clint who saves the dog, and it's his dog, and they flipped it. It's like they're giving a lot of the best moments from the comics to Kate.
It's because this is Kate's series.
Yeah.
It is.
Well,
it's totally Kate's story.
And also very much because, again, Jeremy Renner's Hawkeye is the serious SHIELD agent.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't.
Yeah,
he doesn't do the flamboyant stuff so much.
But it also comes across that this is the pro dealing with a bunch of amateurs. Mm-hmm. She's an amateur. The Tracksuit Mafia are amateurs. Just down the line, having to deal with the LARPers. It does come across that he is like, oh, God, I fought Thanos and I have to deal with this crap.
Right? Yeah. I'm begging you, kill me.
Yes.
one assumes that now running up against Echo, everything is going to change as far as that goes.
That's where I wanted to get to was the character introduction.
What's the deal with the watch? I hate this. I really hate to be ignorant on that one, but I'm not getting the thing about the watch.
I believe it's the watch Tony wore in Civil War.
It's not.
Oh, okay.
This is a standard looking watch.
Yeah.
It's got a normal face. The one in Civil War looks more like this, skinny thing, and then he flips it up. Because I've seen a close up of the watch, the scene where he pulls out the glove. Now, it could have that tech, but it's not the same watch from Civil War.
So,
but yeah, that's what I thought.
This watch was supposedly recovered from Avengers Compound. I'm hoping or assuming that it has something to do with Tony, that there's some sort of tech in it that's Tony's tech.
I partly do and partly don't, because Tony has been the driving force of so many of these shows.
Yeah.
And now that he's dead, it'd be nice if they kind of went somewhere else. But yeah, I could totally see it being Tony's watch or it having Stark Tech or.
I'd love to see it as as something that travels through more shows. You know what I mean? That it's a MacGuffin. You know that keeps going. You know, maybe it even ends up in Armor Wars.
That's what I was just thinking. From this Tony. Could be the nanotech or the nanites that, and it could be a suit of armor. In the watch, and then instead of a briefcase, it's the watch.
I mean,
that
it
could
lead into Ironheart. It could lead into Armor Wars. It could be really fun. Yeah. Or it could just be a watch.
Yeah. I don't know. I thought I saw like a red metallic.
It was face was a red metallic with a silver case.
Mm-hmm. So it's probably the Silver Centurion armor.
Yeah, probably. It could be. So yeah, it could be the Stark Tech that launches Armor Wars. It absolutely could be. Which that would be interesting then if the Tracksuit Mafia is being funded by the Power Broker, Sharon Carter.
Yeah. I'm interested to see if Yelena ends up with some warring loyalties when she's like dead set on getting Clint, but I can't imagine that she's a fan of the Russian mafia.
No, but I think I don't think she's going to come in all guns a-blazing, because she knows what Clint and Natasha were. She saw that hidey hole they had in the subway. Yeah. So I don't know if she's going to come in guns a-blazing.
Yeah. Talk about, you were talking about you need more to reinforce the things that we're being told about Kate. I'm hoping that Yelena doesn't come in like that at all, because as far as I'm concerned, why would she just blindly believe what Valentina is saying? I think she's going to need a lot more reasons just to say like, oh, this is the guy that killed your sister, like, or is responsible for your sister's death. Like, if I was her, I'd want a lot more information about that.
Well, there's been, she could have been presented a lot of information in between the show and
that's
the movie.
What I mean. I want to hear about that. And you know what? It doesn't. Yeah. That's the other thing. How does anybody else know about how Natasha died?
I don't know that they know how Natasha died, other than she sacrificed her life.
Right. So it's like we need to be told how does Valentina come up with that, unless it's just a total lie to get she has something else against Clint.
Well, it's obvious she was watching the Endgame DVD and recorded and did a still shot on that image, because that's from the Endgame movie.
Yeah. No, my feeling is just that Valentina is that plugged in. She probably had got access to Avengers log.
Okay. Yeah.
Like their computer system.
Right.
I did like Hawkeye email, that's classified.
Right. I'm a little worried.
No, thank you.
I'm a little worried about the ruins of the Avengers compound. It has really poor security. Digging through it and pulling out artifacts from it.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand a watch being taken by somebody, but a sword and a costume in an ornate box?
Yeah. Well,
And
maybe
did
it was
nobody-
done while the Avengers were off taking care of something, like during Endgame.
Yeah. Well, for one thing, we as far as we know, there are no Avengers since Endgame. We don't know. There's no formal Avengers structure in place
Right.
as far as we know. That and that's the whole thing, is that maybe they have to come back together. But that there's no, and the other question is does anybody wonder why the Ronin suit would be at the Avengers compound? And
Yeah.
why did Clint put it at the Avengers compound, for that matter?
I think he was wearing it when Natasha came for him.
Yes.
That's true.
So
right.
I think he
I get
probably
it. So yeah, he may have gone back there with the outfit.
and just shucked the outfit.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I'm a bad guy, I'm just going to assume that they captured Ronin and took his gear.
That was my thought. Is that yeah.
All right, I got a little thing for you guys. I don't know if you know this, but there's a potential tie between the Hawkeye series and Daredevil season 3.
I think I may have heard about this, but rail on.
But basically, where the auction takes place and the ballroom, that hotel is the same hotel. At least it's filmed in the same hotel that Wilson Fisk was put into by the FBI when he was taken out of prison. In the Daredevil series, it was called the Presidential Hotel.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't get a name in the Hawkeye series yet.
Yeah, I think we did see the marquee, and it might have been the Presidential.
Okay, so
I'll have to watch again, but there was a moment where I saw the.
Yeah, so that's the hotel that Fisk started using as kind of a base of operations. He had that extra room put in. So it would make sense if Fisk was either living in that hotel still and they had the auction there in hopes of him coming to it, or that he was the one having the auction. But then in the comics, he's the one behind the Tracksuit Mafia. So
and he has a connection with Echo.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they also make a point of the fact that Ronin they didn't call him the kingpin of crime, but they said something about a crime boss or
he got really close to the crime boss, and so
I'm all for it.
Yeah, I think they are setting us up for a D'Onofrio return.
Yeah,
but only 6 episodes. This is
that's short.
But I must say the folks behind this though are two people who I trust pretty well. And I can't get his name right, but he was the person who created Middlemen.
Mm-hmm.
Javi
Garcia or something.
Yeah. Sorry, I tried looking it up and I couldn't even find it on the IMDb. Those people curse them.
Yeah.
But and also Christopher Yost is
one of the early writers for MCU.
Yeah, and Matt Fraction is listed as a consulting producer.
Yeah,
or something like that. Yeah, which is cool. That's nice.
Although I get the feeling, because I've seen people complaining, and including teams like David Aja, about how much they lifted his aesthetic.
Yeah,
and basically he gets a thank you. So I think it's kind of weird that we'll make Fraction a consulting producer, but then Aja is just thanks, man.
We're talking about the whole animated opening.
Yeah, and the style of the posters.
Yeah, and the closing credits.
Yeah.
I actually saw in one report, I think it was one of the bigger sites, that basically referred to the comic as Matt Fraction's writing and art. Like David Aja didn't even exist. Fraction did all of it. So I've seen a couple of that. And it's like, okay. But What do you think of the Echo introduction? I noticed that I find it kind of fascinating that she is completely bathed in red light, which again kind of makes you think of Daredevil.
Yeah.
What? No.
Yes.
I'm not that familiar with the characters, so I'm just waiting and seeing. I thought, okay, here's Echo, and there's just really not enough there to really.
I'm going to give you this the cynical take on Echo.
Mm-hmm.
She was basically I don't remember who created her, but she was basically an attempt to redo Elektra.
Right. I think I knew
Great
that.
assassin.
Mm-hmm.
Her father was killed by Kingpin, and then he decided to raise her to honor a promise he made. She's got photographic reflexes like Taskmaster is supposed to have, which makes me wonder if that's why they changed Taskmaster in her abilities in the Black Widow movie. But what's funny is that she's Native American, so they had that whole culture to pull in on, and instead, after the whole Daredevil run, she ends up hooking up with Wolverine, and he teaches her all about the Japanese mafia or the Japanese mob, and they pretty much make her even more like Elektra to the point where she is killed and brought back to life by Elektra. So, they really tried to make her an Elektra copy.
Mm-hmm.
I have to admit that I have embarrassed myself. Javier Grillo Marzois, I can't pronounce his name right, is actually associated with Cowboy Bebop, not with just I've been watching the two at the same. Sorry, but Christopher Yost is involved in.
Are you sure?
Or is he still? No, I'm not.
I think he's
I'll have to check
Bebop as well. I've been watching both shows too, so
yeah, that's just like, wait, now am I totally? I mean, he's obviously got a lot of connection with the. Nope, he's on Cowboy Bebop as well. Boy, my got egg on my face. Sorry, folks.
Yeah,
but I still like Hawkeye plenty, so
So Jim,
I'm trusting them to bring it home.
Quickly, what would you like to see in the rest of the series? What are you hoping to get in the end of the series? What do you?
Definitely those costumes that they have in the promotional poster. I'm just any excuse to get superhero-y with me.
Kate is wearing her costume when she falls through the skylight.
Yes, I did see that, but it's like I can't imagine what it'll take to get Clint into a costume.
Branding.
I want to see more back and forth, between them. I want to see the relationship grow, and I want to see that point where Clint realizes that she really can be, Hawkeye. And I'm really kind of dying to see if this is the swan song for Jeremy Renner, if this is it for him, if they're really going to pass the torch along with this, and if this is where Daredevil comes in, I think it's a perfect place for it, and I'm all for it because I love I loved all of that, especially Vincent D'Onofrio.
Yeah,
he's incredible.
Yeah. I think the Netflix casting for Daredevil was perfect. Iron Fist, no. Daredevil, yes. So, Paul, what about you? What would you like to see?
I want to see. I don't care if it's. I want it to be. Want it to be Clint, but it's okay with me if it's Kate. I want to see one of the Hawkeyes going all out against the Swordsman. I want him to have some kind of an outfit. Doesn't have to be the, full costume from the comics by any means. But I want to see Duquesne going all out.
Yeah, I want to hear him say to Clint, "Hey, you took purple from me, buddy.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I want to see that. I don't know that we will. I'm very interested. I want to see. It would be interesting. Maybe the way to use Yelena would just be to have her show up and warn Clint that Val is kind of gunning for him,
Okay.
rather than
Yeah.
like you're saying, she's too savvy to fall for it.
Yeah.
So if she shows up and just goes like, "Hey, I'm letting you know,"
Yeah,
somebody's got it.
it may literally be a cameo. Again, we have just 4 episodes to go, and to cram in a full-blown Yelena appearance is going to be
Of course,
tough,
I
challenging.
don't know that I'd object to seeing something where a big fight was going on. Yelena shows up, Clint's there,
Yeah.
Kate's there, Echo is there, and it's all just kind of, and the
Yeah.
tracksuit mafia's throwing lead and baseball
But
bats.
you know
and,
what? For viewers like Dan, they really need the time to develop Kate to the point where questions are answered, and she's a character that we would want to keep following.
Screw Dan.
Okay.
I would
All right,
like,
that too, I guess.
I would like to see by the end of this that Kate, a Kate that is likable, a Kate that again we want to follow. I think Yelena's probably going to come in and help them, because I think if you count villains, you've got 3 villains and 2 heroes, so that would balance out. If because you got to remember that the clown is there as well.
Right.
Wait, which clown?
The clown.
The clown.
Kazi, the clown.
Oh, Kazi's the clown?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not familiar with the character.
Yeah, he's kind of their take on it's a Fraction's version of the Joker. So yeah.
Because I keep seeing them going like, "Oh, Fra Frey is in it," and I'm like, so far he's had like one moment where he's looking for her, and they like go, "Hey, come on, Kazi, let's go."
Yeah.
So I was like, why are they making such a big deal in the credits over that?
Because he's the clown.
So, yes.
I think because if you have a big showdown where you have Hawkeye versus Swordsman, you have Clint versus Kate versus
Echo,
and then you got someone else has to be there to finish it off. Now they might get rid of one of them. You got Clint versus the clown and Kate versus Echo. I don't know.
Yeah,
we'll figure it out. But yeah, I'd like this not to be the swan song for Jeremy Renner. I'd like to see him kind of move more into a mentor position where he's mentoring maybe Kate, maybe the rest of the young Avengers that we get coming up. I think it would be an interesting role for him to Jim Valentino said something to me a few months ago. He said that it gets to the point when you're in comics that you move from being a player to a manager, like in sports. And he's moved that way in publishing. I could see Clint doing that as well, moving up to where he's guiding the new group of Avengers.
Did we lose Jim?
We lost Jim. So we'll see if he comes back real quick. But we're going to be wrapping up anyway. So he nailed it just the right time. So we'll give him just a second to see if he popped back up. But yeah. And then we will catch up on Cowboy Bebop next week, because we'll only have 1 episode of Hawkeye to talk about anyway.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hope it's a good one. And it'll be interesting, too, to see whether they expand the episode. Like, because it's pretty flexible on time.
Yeah,
so,
but they didn't with Falcon and Winter Soldier. It was 6 episodes, 45 to 50 minutes each. That's it.
Yep.
So they're doing the same formula they've done with that and Loki. So the only one that was different was Wanda, because they were half-hour episodes.
Yep. So. But I'm very interested to see where it goes. And I'm sorry that you don't like Kate yet.
So
I'm on the. I mean, as far as liking, I'm sort of on the fence. But
yeah, Jim just texted. His laptop has died. So
no.
Yep, we're going to wrap it up there.
Okay.
See you guys next week. we will talk more about both Hawkeye and Cowboy Bebop. So